Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're embarking on a spatial journey that is absolutely going to change how you look at a sheet of music. We're taking that two-dimensional, seemingly flat musical staff and translating it into the living, tactile reality of your viola fingerboard. If you've ever felt like reading music is like trying to decipher some ancient foreign language, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to break this all down into a highly visual, super logical system. Okay, here is our game plan for today. First, decoding the viola staff. Second, finding home with middle space D. Third, we'll put the musical alphabet in motion. Fourth, going beyond the lines with ledger lines. And finally, mapping notes to strings. Let's dive right into section 1, decoding the viola staff. So, I want to clearly define exactly what we're dealing with before we start hunting down any specific notes. As a violist, your entire world revolves around the alto clef. It's kind of your secret club, right? Because while violinists read the treble clef and cellists hang out in the bass clef, you have this totally unique visual foundation that's tailored perfectly to the range of your specific instrument. The absolute crucial point here is establishing the visual boundaries of this staff, which is strictly built on a 5-line and 4-space rule. Now here's the golden rule. And honestly, a place where a lot of beginners accidentally get tripped up. We always count from the bottom to the top. Literally, start at the floor. The lowest line is line 1, and the top line is line 5. And naturally, that creates 4 cozy little spaces nested right in between those lines. All right, moving right along to section 2, finding home, middle space D. Our anchor point method here is just brilliant. Instead of overwhelming yourself by trying to memorize the whole shebang at once, we're just going to memorize one specific unmoving spot. By finding the 3rd space up from the bottom, right snug between the middle line and the 4th line, boom, you found D. I want you to seriously burn this image into your brain, because literally everything we do from here on out is mathematically calculated from this middle space D. Look at how perfectly it sits right there in that 3rd space. If you ever get lost while reading a piece of music, just let your eyes dart back to this space. The second you spot it, you immediately know, okay, yep, that's my D. Now for section 3, the musical alphabet in motion. Let's see how this builds. Moving up from here involves some really simple math. Stepping from our D in the space up to the very next line gives us an E in the musical alphabet. It really is just alphabetical. You were in a space, you take a step up to the nearest line, and D becomes E. It's a perfectly logical sequence. And as we take another step from that E line up to the space above it, we land on F. This just proves that we simply alternate lines and spaces as we climb. Space, line, space, line. So, up from D in the space, to E on the line, to F in the space. If we just kept walking to the top line, we'd hit G, and the space resting right on top of that top line would be A. Now, what if you want to go down into the basement of our staff? You simply step downwards and recite the musical alphabet backwards. Easy, right? So, stepping down from our anchor D in the 3rd space to the middle line gets you a C. Drop to the 2nd space, you have a B. The 2nd line is an A. The 1st space is a G. And the very bottom line of our staff is an F. You just alternate line, space, completely in reverse. Which brings us to section 4, beyond the lines, ledger lines. So what actually happens when we run out of lines? Seriously, we have much higher and lower notes we need to play, but our main foundation only has 5 lines. How do we solve this architectural problem? Well, we need a way to build some temporary scaffolding to hold the notes that soar high above or dip way below our staff. We simply build extensions called ledger lines. These let us confidently map the absolute highest notes above the staff and the very lowest notes below it. Think of them as custom mini lines drawn just for a single note. If we go above the staff, the first ledger line holds a B. The space just above that line is C. If we go down below the staff,
the bottom line on the staff you see is an F. If you go to the note before that, right under the staff, that's an E. The first ledger line below the staff is a D, and the lowest note that you can play is the space below the first ledger line, which is your C string.
In section 5, mapping notes to strings. Okay, let's take a look at the physical viola fingerboard, mapping out the C, G, D, and A strings right in front of us. These are your open strings. Starting from the thickest, lowest string on the left, the C string, you move across to the G, the D, and finally the highest string on the right, the A. Remember that lowest C note we just found way below the staff? That corresponds exactly to playing your C string entirely open, without pressing any fingers down at all. Before we locate specific pitches on those strings, we really have to understand the geography of your physical fingers on these fingerboard tapes. Specifically, we need to cover the critical difference between a regular 2 and a low 2. Your first tape is for your index finger, second is for your middle finger, third is for your ring finger. Normally, your second and third fingers are best friends. They touch right next to each other. But as you progress, you learn the low 2. This is when your middle finger actually slides down a half step on the fingerboard so that it touches your index finger instead. Basically, every time you add a finger on a string, you are walking one step up the musical alphabet to the very next letter. Now this is your ultimate string-by-string cheat sheet. It shows exactly how the notes we just plotted correspond to your exact finger placement. Let's look at the D string row for a second. If you play the D string open, that's our exact anchor note on the third space of the staff. Put down one finger, you have E. 2 regular fingers gives you F sharp. 3 gives you G. But if you ever needed an F natural instead of an F sharp, well, that's exactly when you'd use that low 2 we just talked about, bringing your middle finger down a half step to touch your index finger. This chart right here is your perfect translation matrix. By anchoring yourself to that middle space D, you can now seamlessly translate any vertical line or space on the page into a physical, beautiful sound on your viola. It's like magic, right? Every note on the C string starts below the staff and climbs up. The G string notes take over at the bottom space and climb through the middle line. The D string picks up the baton at our anchor space and carries us up to the top line. And finally, the A string launches us right up above the staff using those upper ledger lines. It is all connected, structurally and physically, into one brilliant system. You now have the architectural blueprints and the physical map to completely conquer the alto clef. So I'm going to leave you with this thought. Now that you can navigate the viola staff without hesitation, what complex piece of music are you going to decode first? Grab these tools, head over to your music stand, and start bringing those pages to life. Keep focused, keep practicing, and enjoy the music.